Good morning, Rachel. Afternoon, Rachel. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Miller. I'm good. How are you?
I am amazing. And again, I am in a remote location, second week in a row, but
Because
this
that
time
worked
I
so
promise you
well
that
for us last time.
I actually got a text message from somebody asking if I was okay because I was talking, all of a sudden it went dark. Like, Scott, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's great. So, Rachel, we have been trying to get my friend MJ on our podcast for the longest time, and life kept happening. I'm going to bring her on right now,
Can't wait.
and Pink. And there is
MJ.
MJ. MJ, welcome.
Oh, look at Mary
MJ, meet
Jane.
Rachel. Rachel, meet MJ.
Hi,
Hi, Miss Rachel.
MJ.
So
I'm envious of your background.
I
I
am at,
struggle daily with my green screen.
Well, we'd be happy to make you one.
so MJ, I am at a remote location. I'm up in Bishop, California, and I'm using a hotspot. So it's not the best. So every once in a while, I'm going to have to mute myself because the announcer at the rodeo overtakes me and it's kind of crazy. So, disclosures. This is our disclosure. The following is for entertainment purposes only. What we may or may not. Wow, I totally blew that already. Anyway, this is for entertainment purposes only. We are all professionals. However, you're encouraged to do your own due diligence on anything you hear today on this podcast. Is It's here for your entertainment only. That's my disclosure. MJ, I said this was very relaxed, and I wasn't kidding. Uh, MJ, before we get into this, uh, this is going to be talking about subject two. Rachel and I have had several discussions about it, and she's like, "Wait, subject to what?" She had a conversation with somebody the other day, and that person's like, "I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole." And I know from previous conversations you have had very similar conversations with people saying they wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So I am going to say, folks, buckle up as we're going to dive into something that sounds like it shouldn't be legal, but totally is. It's called the subject to deal. And it's not a conspiracy theory, it's actually a super creative real estate strategy that works and the more people should know about. So, with that, Rachel, do you have anything before we dive into this thing?
Well, let's just get right into it. MJ, would you kindly explain what exactly is a subject to deal in real estate? Why would an investor or a buyer want to use this?
I'm very excited to bring this to you today. Thank you both for having me. A sub-to transaction, and I'm going to talk about three different kinds of them, is a type of seller financing. The number one reason, before I get into the types of transactions, the number one reason an investor or any buyer would want to consider a sub-to or a seller type of seller financing is because there's no banks involved. There's no credit approval. You can have bad credit. You can buy above what you would normally be eligible for. You can pick up multiple properties. They don't show up on your credit report. I personally participated in 23 of them last year, and we didn't pick up one mortgage that was over. The highest mortgage we picked up was 4.5%. And normally we wouldn't even have considered that high an interest rate, given that there's so many of them out there right now. But the math was too good. So we decided it was worth it even at 4.5%. So
MJ, when you say the interest rate, is that an interest rate set by the seller?
So now we're going to talk about the types of transactions. The simplest kind of a seller financing is that the seller owns the property free and clear, and has ability. The most familiar ones you might be familiar with are vacant land transactions, where the owner owns it free and clear and is able to carry paper or carry the mortgage. The second kind is something called a sub-to or subject to transaction, where you literally take over whatever's left on that mortgage. You're, instead of getting a new mortgage or having to come in with that cash, you get a debit on your you get a debit on your net sheet that shows that you have taken over all of the remaining debt from that mortgage. That without any changes whatsoever, no increase in the interest rate, no cash to the seller for that, just a straight subject to. The third kind is a all-inclusive trust deed. Most likely you've heard of them called as a wrap. And that is where we're doing one right now where they have 3 mortgages. They did an original mortgage and then 2 more to save themselves. And we are wrapping them all into one mortgage that encompasses all of those payments, a little bit of money for the seller to close, paying the agents, taking care of a repair if necessary, whatever is realistically happening on the property. We can, if the cash works and the math works, we will take over that entire situation for you. And these are complete and normal, regular real estate transactions. There is a full escrow. There is a full title. It is not illegal. It is not immoral. It is not unethical. This is a nationwide ability. So why do we not know about these more in California? The benefits that we have in California is we don't have as much problem moving property. People want to be here. Properties don't stay on the market. Traditional solutions will almost always work. When you get out into the seller wants too much money, too many days on the market, the property's in bad condition, in a terrible location, the seller's broke, the seller can't make the payments, they're close to foreclosure, that sort of thing, then it becomes advantageous for the seller to offboard those materials. And for that, they will let you take over their mortgage. And you go through a regular escrow with a regular title. There's math, there's estimates. Everybody sees from the moment the transaction starts, at least when they do it with me, and certainly for the rest of the world before you close escrow, there's a full estimate where they get a chance to see if the math is going to work for them. Sometimes there's a middleman called a wholesaler or a person who happens to have that lead or know that situation. And that wholesaler can be the realtor as well. One of the things that I talk to realtors about is certainly during the hot real estate market in 2022, I was telling everybody, you should never cancel an escrow. You can assign out transactions very easily. So the 2 times I see seller financing and sub 2 and AITDs being used is in a situation where the seller's in deep distress or the buyer has money but has bad credit or has some situation that won't allow them to buy. The other situation I see it in is when a traditional transaction has begun to fall apart. The buyer's financing is 6 months or more out. They have a fix they need to make. And yet everyone wants to go forward. We still want to close. We still have a willing buyer. We still have a willing seller. The agents want to get paid. And so very often we can step in and do, and seller financing of this type can be very short. It can be 3, 6 months, a year. It can be 5 years. 3 to 5 years is about the average. But we even picked up a few where the seller was willing to let us keep it for the rest of the mortgage time. So we picked up 2 or 3 last year that still have 28 years on the mortgage. Lots of people during 2022 and like that were able to get mortgages because the interest rate was low enough to open the door for them. But the weight of the real estate overall, maybe their job that raise didn't come through, or they've had a change in circumstances, somebody's gotten ill, or they find that the actual purchase price itself was what was wearing them down as far as being able to keep up their payments. So like I said, the most common seller financing you will see is just a straight free and clear all the way to us clearing up an entire situation for a seller and getting the buyer in. If you search these in other communities, if you search sub 2 and that sort of thing, there's still plenty going on in California. But out of state, it is not even remotely unusual for a seller to consider a sub-2 or an AI or buyer.
MJ, I have a few questions. How is this different from an assumable loan?
So a great question. The answer is this is an informal or we don't tell the bank that we're assuming. The bank, when you do a real assumption, the bank puts you through pretty much a identical qualification procedure that you would have had to go to get a regular loan. However, they're not offering 2.5% interest, which, you know, is, we have quite a few of them out there from the 2022, 2020 and 2022 market. So it is an informal assumption where we do not notify the lender that that's going on.
And what, if any, are the risks in that, in the lender not knowing?
So the big elephant in the room that I teach it and that I have to talk about every time is the acceleration clause. So in every mortgage in the United States, there is a due on sale or an acceleration clause. And what it says is that if you transfer this property, we have a right to call this loan. Because Californians are not as familiar with these as other states, you need an expert so that they can help you understand what the real rights for acceleration are. In California, three things must be, or in the United States, three things must happen all at the same time for them to accelerate your mortgage. You had to do a transfer. One, we transferred it. We gave it to a new buyer. Second, the payment stopped getting made. And third, the taxes stopped getting paid. Most of our loans are impounded, so we don't usually have that problem. But if all three of those things are true, then they can accelerate the mortgage. Otherwise, they don't have that option. The bank does not have that option. And at that point, it's foreclosable, and they already have a department for that. So there's no reason to take us through acceleration.
So in other words, only one of those three qualifiers are in place. The one being that the loan is transferred.
Right.
What happens with the equity in the home? Where does the equity go eventually? What if somebody purchases a home through a sub-2 agreement, and then that person wants to sell the home? Where does
this is a 100% normal transaction. They get title insurance, they have a grand deed, they have full authority to sell it. Now, usually the seller has also said that it's a due on sale, and usually at that point you are going to pay off the mortgages with more traditional financing. So if the seller goes to sell, he could sub-2 it again, sandwich it, sell it to someone else. It is all possible.
And that would go and in that situation, then the transaction is between the new buyer and the original seller.
No, just the mortgage is left behind, and the seller, and that seller is bound to the original contract that he signed to the other person, to the original buyer, which allows the loan to continue through the remaining of the terms. Like I said to you, you're usually these are 3 to 5 years long, enough for the property to gain equity and for us all to see an interest rate decrease, which we're all, live and breathe and cross our fingers for all the time. So usually some equity in California is pretty steady. And so in 3 to 5 years, you can expect the equity 100%. It's actually 100% exactly like every other. It's title insured.
What happens with insurance, title insurance and homeowners insurance? What happens with that in this case?
So title insurance is searched just the exact same way. Both people are checked out to make sure that they don't have other debts or liens. And we do sometimes have a deal fall through because the seller thought he told us all his debts, but he's really got IRS tax liens or something, and we're not going to be able to come up with enough cash to pay off everything, all of the seller's problems. So once in a while, that does happen. So title insurance, for those of you who aren't comfortable with title insurance yet, title insurance is the only kind of insurance that insures the past. So at the time of closing, title insurance begins and goes backwards to the last time there was title insurance. So that period of time is insured. Whatever happens from closing forward becomes a new title policy. So if the buyer gets himself in trouble, then he's going to have something to clean up as he goes forward into the future. Now, your other part of your question about the hazard insurance is most of my, about 90% of the transactions, 95%, I would say, are impounded already. So the taxes are already being collected in the payment. So, however, the insurance has been a constant hassle as far as California goes and the world, or United States in general right now. So in my case, we do a little Zoom meeting at the beginning when everybody starts and again at the end. And we remind that the sellers and buyers that they're sort of in a partnership together. We have taken on your problems. And when we get something in the mail that says I need to renew the insurance, and it's going to be the buyer's problem to pick a new one, to get it in place, to put it on there, and to continue to insure the original seller. Because who has to be on the insurance policy when I was an escrow officer, I specialized in AITDs, and I have never had one blow up. So I've had people come back and just wish they hadn't done it, and we've even just one time had to eventually refi. But because we wanted them out of our lives, not because they weren't contractually obligated to continue. So there are periods of time when the insurance, certainly right now, probably the biggest annoyance, and it really is not much more than that. You get the notice, you have to find other insurance, you got to get it in place and drop it in before the lender insures for you, which is called force-placed insurance. And that's not cheap. It usually adds $200 to $300 a month to your payment.
If the buyer stops making payments to the seller,
we don't have them make the payments to the seller. These days, we have them share a password and go directly on the website so that everybody, both the seller and the buyer, can log on at any time and see what's going on. Everybody gets the same messages. Everybody gets the same phone numbers. Only in traditional seller financing, where there is no bank involved at all, would there be payments being directly to the seller anymore. Mm-hmm. We had too much trouble, as you know, during the short sale market when people were handing payments over to people who weren't making the payments. So
what kind of legal action does the seller have towards the buyer if the buyer starts to default their payments?
Thank you for asking. On a sub 2, none at all, which they literally will just be up the creek alongside you. But we wrap 99% of ours. We give them a fresh note and deed of trust, which does give them foreclosure rights after just the exact same foreclosure rights that every other bank has. So first payment missed, you hire your trustee company. Professional foreclosures for persons like us run about $3,000. They're not prohibitively so expensive. You don't hire a lawyer for this, most likely. So the foreclosure procedure would take over at that point, and the trustee company you hire does all the notices, conducts the sale, and returns the property to the seller. So one of the things we say all the time to sellers when we are discussing the pros and cons is especially for us in real estate who are investors or investors, we're hoping the property is going to come back because we're going to fix it up and sell it. Again, probably with all the equity that you left behind when you paid the mortgage for 2 or 3 years, and then weren't able to complete your transaction for whatever reason. But it rarely happens.
Yeah, not without inconvenience.
Hey, Mary Jane.
In what situation would a seller feel like this is a good idea for them?
The number one is days on market and property condition. Those are the first two. But the one that appeals to the seller the most is that they're asking for a price they can't have. They wouldn't have in a traditional market. They want to take the next 2 years of equity themselves. They want to. Every realtor in town, they've been listed 3 times, 5 times, whatever it is, and every realtor in town has told them they're 50 grand over or 100 grand over. So because we're not getting traditional financing, as long as the math works, in fact, the math actually goes backwards. Instead of picking a sales price and then making it all, we actually go the other way. We figure out who needs what and then we come to a sales price by doing the math in reverse. So the best advice I can give for anyone considering a sub 2 is the minute you start talking numbers, go to your favorite escrow company, have them do an estimate. Throw all those numbers at them. They will add the escrow charges and the title charges, and they will check the back taxes, and they will get an estimate in front of you. I work strictly off estimates. I do not like to get into transactions and find out that we forgot that the seller needs to net 50K, or that the person who gave us the lead, the wholesaler, for lack of a better term, is still expecting 10 grand or something. I work the minute we think we're going to do this, we go straight to estimate, and we live and breathe those estimates the whole way. And the other benefit of estimates is sometimes people can't close exactly when they said they're going to, mostly because the seller's not ready to get out, like they still need another 30 days or something. So then I have to start ticking away at what the seller thought he was going to get, because he's still in the property and he's going to make that payment. So if he really can't, he needs to move faster, or we need to absorb that. And then it's straight math again. Is the equity and the end user that I think I'm going to get for this property going to be worth making another payment or two for a person? But yeah, we live and breathe our net sheets from day one.
Your explanations are amazing. Is there a place in California where this is happening a lot more, like a concentrated area where this is happening more versus not?
So seller financing across the United States is about a $50 billion a year. It's going on everywhere all the time. One of the things when I have a person who has a lot of cash, because somebody will call and say, I've got money, but I don't have credit, or I can't, whatever, I'm not divorced, or whatever their situation is I'm going to be able to show you homes that are available that are considering seller financing. So this is not a wide open, go pick your new home and we're going to use seller financing on a new home. You're going to have to pick from the homes that are available, which is why the sub 2 market, especially on social media, is so active. We are constantly having one come up or one going out, or limited time only. We've got 10 days to the foreclosure, whatever the situation is. So they're literally happening every day right here in the state.
What if a home is a home listed as a sub 2?
It can be. Fact,
is it listed on an MLS?
Yes. In fact, I think Scott will vouch for me here that in my longer presentation, which I'm happy to do for you all, the number one mistake agents make is not clicking the box sell sub 2 or seller financing available. Remember, just like commissions these days, it has to go through the offer before a person has to accept it. So merely saying on the MLS. So there's a great gal, I can't think of her name right now, on my longer presentation that does them out of Texas, teaches people, out of Michigan. And she makes live calls. So if you go on YouTube and hunt up for live calls of agents looking for sub 2s, you will see that she makes 3 live calls back to back in front of you on the videos. And almost instantly we find out that it's been on the market so long and the seller is considered. The most common thing is, if I can't sell it, I'm going to rent it. Okay. So real agents are often ready to say renter, but they don't mark the box that says seller financing. Remember, you want to bring all offers. So when you fail to block, check all the options in your MLS, you're actually blocking. Now there is some nuisance to it. You know, I tell people, when you run an ad for a sub 2 transaction as a listing agent, you're going to want a different phone number, because you will not believe how many you could get, as many as 100, 200, 300, 400 phone calls from it. Now, for us people who've been in real estate a long time, what are we supposed to be doing when we're talking to these people? We're not just qualifying them for this transaction. We're qualifying them down the road. So some of these we put off into credit repair. Some of these people we go, your car loan that you failed on 5 years ago is not going to stop you. Let's get you with a regular. Oh, your bankruptcy's been done 5 years. Let's get you with a regular lender and let's get you financed. So I tell agents that when you run these ads, you will get calls from people who have money but have something they need to confess, as they got repossessed or
Right.
or whatever their situation is.
Miller?
Mary Jane, I have really weird coverage here. I'm going to go backwards a little bit. There's something called the Garn-St. Germain Act. It was a federal law passed in 1982 that protects the lenders by allowing them to enforce the due-on clause in mortgage agreements. So it protects the lendee from being.
Even if there wasn't a civil, even if that wasn't true, it's written into your contract, and once you agree to it in a contract. One of the things I like to challenge people is to pull your own deed of trust. Pull a deed of trust for any listing you have, and you can find the due on sale clause. You will find it. You will also find a clause a few paragraphs back called an assignees or assignors agreement. And what it says is, if this mortgage gets transferred without our permission, the new buyer is obligated to all the same things that the original person was. So while a lot of people are able to find the sub 2 clause, they're not thinking to look for the assignee clause as well. It isn't illegal. I'm not saying the bank can't foreclose, but it is, accelerate. There's also some situations where they can't at all. A veteran's widow can't be accelerated, and a veteran cannot be accelerated. Divorce situations. There are a few situations where they, like I said, have me back, or maybe we'll do a recording with the longer presentation. But there are a dozen. FHAs and VAs have to have bank approval have to have a government approval to even accelerate. So really, their goal is going to be, they're going to be focused on foreclosure. They're not going to be focused on acceleration. It just doesn't happen.
Really interesting information.
MJ, would you say?
Go ahead, Miller.
MJ, would you say this is a way? But I'm like a half a second behind everybody on this call.
Okay.
MJ, would you say this?
Put it in the chat if you want to.
I might have to. Where'd it go?
We can't hear you very
I'm
good.
going to put it in chat.
He's going to put it in the chat real quick. And we got about 2 minutes before we wrap up, Miller.
This is an opportunity for investors, for first-time home buyers, for trying to keep it. So when I got divorced in 2007 and I split up everything I owned, I had a tiny little pool of money and this knowledge. Okay. When I went to rent a condo, the person said to me, I would love to rent this to you, but I'm 3 months behind on my mortgage payment. And I said, I'll catch it up. Okay. So we caught up his mortgage payment. I took over his mortgage. I lived in it for 3 years. We sold it with full equity. And I'm a homeowner again.
So you did it. You did it yourself.
Yeah, many times. So
many times.
Wow. I think it's the number one angle across the board that realtors miss. Not putting it in the MLS, not instantly. Oh, before we go away, I want to say this is not just a looking forward, trying to see which properties are good for it. This is a rescue situation as well. I think that's when Scott finally believed me and got excited about it. Was a traditional loan fell out, and we were able. Now, in the end, like you've heard, the seller got frightened and decided her realtor said, "Not over my dead body." Okay, and that's pretty much how it's going to work out for her, because she was at an age and a place where she really should have taken us up on the sub 2. But we did go through all the procedures. We were there. We had a payment. She was ready to go. It was going to be very short term. I forget. Yes, this is a great way for you to build, for every agent to build wealth and keep it off your credit report.
One quick question before we wrap this up. Does this in any way help the buyer's credit?
It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't, but it doesn't damage it either. So
right, but if they're looking to build their credit, or obviously a home loan is not going to that's not where we start anyways. But I'm just wondering, just so it's almost as if like a renter, them
Well,
paying their.
It's a little better than that because you have assets.
Well, I mean, just in the terms of that, you're not earning any credit boost. You're not. It's not working for your.
Not in the traditional sense that you're meaning, but when you have 7, 8, 9, 10 of these on your asset sheet, it's not held against you either because there is no credit score damage to you whatsoever.
Right.
So,
but it's just not going to your credit score, good or bad.
Correct.
Okay. Cool stuff, MJ. Thank you so much. I'm sure we could probably keep talking. We do try and keep this at 30 minutes. But I'm so happy we've waited for you, and here you are, and it was worth the wait. Loved the information, and I'm so happy to have connected with you. I'm sure there'll be a reason for me to call you. Miller, what you got?
I'd be looking forward to it. So
yes.
I take those calls and I help you take it from whatever little piece of paper you have, an address where you think you might have a deal, and I'll help you walk through.
Amazing. Amazing. Where, and so we can find you at Epic.
Not everywhere's not all.
Where can we find you, Mary Jane?
My email address is ourproblemsolver@gmail.com. OUR problemsolver@gmail.com. I stole that off a business card about 25 years ago and built my whole identity around it. But I'm a lifetime realtor. My family was in real estate as well. I joke that I don't think there's anybody in my life that's not in real estate. So I care very much about the people I take care of. So I will deliver you safely, even if I can't go the whole way.
Amazing. MJ, great. Thank you so much. I'm going to let Miller close it.
MJ, thank you very much, MJ. Not all superheroes wear capes, as we just saw. And I apologize for my really laggy connection. But, hey, at least it didn't drop this time and left me out in the middle of the Ozarks, right?
Yeah.
So, MJ, again, thank you very much. And as you guys can probably tell, MJ is my managing broker over here at Epic Realty. So full disclosure, she is my managing broker, and which is awesome because I can call her and say, help, and she's there to help me, which is amazingly awesome. Rachel, where can you be reached? Rachel.
My email is the number 22, rachelmoreno@gmail.com. You can also visit our website. It is Epic. I forgot it already. Epic Homes and Estates. Sorry, Epic Homes and Estates. You can search all of our homes on our website as well, and learn about my founder Shane and my partners, my teammates.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to tease you that you just said Epic Homes instead of Gratis Homes.
I did. Thank you. I knew it sounded wrong. Gratis Homes and Estates. I knew it sounded wrong. Now I'm sweating. Oh my God, Shane's gonna watch this and he's gonna just shoot me tomorrow. He's gonna be like, "What the hell are you doing?" Oh, that's so funny.
Shane, we love you, brother.
You know what's so funny? I have too many files in my head. We were door knocking one day, and they opened the door, and I said, "Hi, I'm Rachel Moreno with with Thousand Oaks Boot Camp or something like that." And my partner next to me was just like, "What are you doing?" Sorry.
Well, you probably should. That's hysterical. Very good, ladies. Thank you so much, Rachel. Until next week, MJ. We'll talk to you very soon. And hey, I can be reached, by the way, at sellingkern.com, or you can reach me via text at 760-264-3501, 760-264-3501. And here's a selfless plug. If you happen to be in Bishop this weekend, I am in Bishop, California until Sunday doing kettle corn at Bishop Mule Days. And we are celebrating mules. If you've never seen a celebration of mules, come on up to Bishop. We got it here. On that, we're now 1 minute over. So with that, I will bid you all adieu. Until next time, Mary Jane, thank you again. Rachel, till next week. And we'll talk soon, everybody. Take care.
Gratishomes.com. That's where you find me. Gratishomes.com. Gratis homes. Thank you. Bye.